exciting news coming from the Ground Zero audio camp. A brand new DSP. Yes, a standalone DSP coming to you by Ground Zero Car Audio. We connect now with Jacob Brown, the Director of Operations. Jacob, you've got to be excited. I'm pretty sure you're chomping at the bit to talk about this. But the news is Ground Zero now has a brand new DSP to offer. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Ben, one, thanks for having me. And two, thanks for mentioning this unicorn that we've been working on for the past couple of years. I've always been a fan of our DSPs. When it comes to simplicity and features, I've always kind of felt like they were the best kind of jack of all trade when it came to processor. But COVID hit. DSP chips became hard to get, hard to find, hard to manufacture. And our DSP kind of ran to its end of life. So over the past couple of years, we have really been working on designing, feature packing this DSP to what we feel is going to be, how do I say, probably one of the most fun DSPs to play with on the market. And the reason I say that it is going to work in so many applications for so many different types of people that it really is, for me, gonna be a standard go-to in this segment of the industry, which is packed with so many cool products and so many different players that it's really fun to be back on the field with these guys.
All right, without further ado, Jacob, let's get into it. Here's the model, guys. Write it down. Gzdsp 6-10Sq. If you're used to nomenclature, you can kind of draw your conclusions already, but I'm going to let Jacob talk about some of the key features of this brand new DSP from Ground Zero.
Yeah, so, obviously our part numbers are a mouthful, but you've perfectly explained it. We've got a Ground Zero DSP with 6 in, 10 out, and kind of a bias towards SQ. So again, this isn't going to be the top tier, ridiculous, crazy, over the top, everything processor. But what we've done is we've designed this for kind of that 99 percentile installer, that everyday install where you need the features, you need the software package to be able to do what we need to be able to do with the majority of everyday and high-end SQ installs. So I'd like to take that opportunity to introduce you to the 6-10Sq from Ground Zero. So not only, again, did we integrate high and low level inputs as most processors do, we've kind of feature packed this for, again, to be able to kind of cover everything you need to be able to do in most installs. So in plate, we've got not only the 6 analog ins for low level, but we've also got the power connector with the 6 analog and power ground remote in and remote out on our USB ports. But what you'll also notice here is a goofy little antenna. So on this unit here, we have integrated Bluetooth 5.0 for not only audio streaming, but also wireless control of the processor itself. Whether you're looking for Windows software integration to be able to wirelessly communicate for programming, or you want to utilize the Ground Zero application on a smartphone to be able to control basic remote functions, master volume, subwoofer control, and preset selection. So all of that is now built into the processor, which I think is an absolutely incredible feature. So, we've taken the opportunity for analog and the opportunity for Bluetooth streaming, built it in to cover just about anything you're going to need. Now, that being said, we've also gone one step further. So from an OEM integration standpoint, or even on a high-end aftermarket standpoint, we've integrated in an optical input and a digital coaxial input, along with our 10 analog outs on this side of the processor. So the cool thing about, for me, what this processor allows us to do is, for those of you running an OEM interface that has an optical out or an analog out to integrate with a factory amplified or unamplified system, you now have that capability, again, without the additional purchases of any item, any additional input cards or anything like that. By having the digital coax input, we also appeal to the guys that are running some of the high-end digital audio players. So in some applications, you might have a guy with an Aston Kern or a new Sony Walkman or something along those lines that are all digital coaxial output, or even sometimes analog. And now you can run it right into the processor, create a tune special for that, and run some of these higher end SQ style builds out of this processor. So yeah, the feature list of what the hardware capability is absolutely incredible for this particular piece. So yeah, there's your, we call it show and tell, and we have some fun with it, but I'm like a kid in a candy store when it comes to this thing.
Geez, Jacob, when you said feature packed, you were not kidding. First of all, I want to comment on the nice compact footprint. When you brought that up, it's not too big, so you don't have to worry about finding space to put this thing. But what's included, I think, is the real story here. You covered, a dual function Bluetooth, which I think is amazing to have included as hardwired into the unit, and then the coaxial and the Toslink. I mean, this is getting really exciting. So let's get into this a little bit more. Let's talk about the performance. Let's talk about the processor and what's the story behind that.
Yeah, so one of the cool things about this processor, and in typical Ground Zero German engineering firm type fashion, uh, we went through even kind of our old processor. And yes, we were going to try and update it. We were just going to try and modernize it a bit and bring it current. But we took a couple of steps back as we found that it wasn't really allowing us to do what we wanted to do. So we took that entire DSP circuit and sent it over to a friend of ours to have completely reworked, redesigned, retraced, and almost reorganized, if you want to call it. And what that allowed us to do with the utilization of this analog devices DSP is drastically decrease noise, increase kind of how the DSP functions and what it needs to do, basically allowing us to better utilize the hardware in the chip itself. So not only do we have a phenomenal signal to noise ratio for a DSP, but we've also got extremely low total harmonic distortion and noise generated by the processor. So if you really think about kind of what it is that we're trying to do, and that is recreate audio as heard by an engineer or a recording artist, this DSP almost kind of mimics and behaves like a recording studio more so than just a digital signal processor. And when I say that, it's the DSP's ability to not introduce noise into the signal or into the signal chain. And for me, that's really one of the big parts about this new DSP circuit that Ground Zero has managed to implement in this processor.
All right, Jacob. So we took the time to talk about some of the hardware. You addressed, the story behind the transition from the old unit to the new unit. Let's talk about software because, as you know, obviously the user interface for installers is going to be really important. So, what can you tell us about the interface?
Yeah, the cool thing that I really dig about this software is for those that are comfortable and familiar with our Mini 5 DSP and our 4-8X2, the software is going to be a very easy transition. But you're going to notice a couple of extra features. So an extended EQ per channel and the addition of input EQ and input time delay correction. So we've really kind of added a couple of features to make it a little more OEM friendly, but also to expand on the concept that it is an SQ-based processor. So following the link at the bottom of this screen, you'll be able to really kind of play around with the software and get extremely comfortable with it before you ever put in your first DSP. And Ben, I know that you've played with plenty of DSPs and DSP software out there. And I honestly feel that even if you're not necessarily comfortable with the others, this is a very intuitive and easy to use software so that you can just log in, go, I know what this does, I know what this does, I know what this feature does, and boom, you're off to the races.
Yep, Jacob, you know me too well. I did get a chance to download the software and see for myself what the interface looks like, and I can attest this is not a complicated software, guys. There are many out there that are much more complicated than this. I think Ground Zero's done a really good job keeping it simple, but adding all those enhanced features that Jacob was mentioning. All right, real quick, I think if you've made it this far, there's only two questions left. What is the availability, and what are we talking about for map pricing?
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask me that as far as when it's available, and it's available now. The unit has been shipping since Monday, and that's really cool for us because it's one of those pieces that we were all super geeked about. We were all super excited for. So to be able to say that this unit is shipping now to retailers in your area is absolutely exciting to me. Now, as far as map pricing, this one I think kind of excites me even more than it really should. This processor is being sold at $699 US map. And to have a feature packed DSP at that price point, to me, is absolutely incredible. The unit is beautiful sounding, it's fun to play with, and it's not intimidating. And that's one of the things that I love about what we've managed to accomplish. So yeah, $699 shipping now. Contact your local retailer or contact us and we can point you in the right direction. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out or go to our website, groundzerousa.com, and we'll be more than happy to answer anything for you.